Okay, so when you think Celtic, what comes to mind? Probably Ireland, right? Maybe Scotland. But what if I told you that a huge, absolutely crucial chapter of that story is actually found in Spain? Yeah, sunny Spain. Let's dig into this incredible historical mystery.
So let's just get right to it. The big question, is northern Spain Celtic? I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about it. You've got regions like Galicia and Astoria. They're famous for bagpipes, these green, rainy landscapes, a folklore that feels totally different from the rest of the country. So what's the deal? Is this a modern myth, or is there some real deep history hiding here?
All right, to even begin to answer that, we've got to jump in our time machine, and I mean way back. We're talking the Iron Age, over 2,500 years ago, to find the very first cultural footprints in this part of the world.
So, our investigation kicks off with something called the Castro culture. This is really our ground zero. It's the most solid archaeological proof we've got. These were Iron Age folks who built these amazing fortified settlements on hilltops, called castros. They were also brilliant metalworkers, had this really distinct tribal society, and they are the absolute bedrock of Spain's claim to a Celtic past.
And this is super important, you gotta get this. We're not talking about some pure group of Celts that just popped up in Spain. No way. This quote hits the nail on the head. From the very, very beginning, these were mixed populations. It was a blend of incoming Celtic people and the local Iberian folks who were already living there. This idea of a hybrid blended identity, it's the key to this entire story.
So you might be asking, why the North? Why did these traditions hang on so tight there? Well, the answer is simple: geography. You've got mountains, lots of rain, it's facing the Atlantic, not the Mediterranean. All that isolation basically acted like a cultural pressure cooker, preserving these Celtic traditions for way, way longer than anywhere else in Iberia.
Okay, so we've got this really unique culture thriving up in the north. Everything's going along, and then a huge historical plot twist. The Roman Empire shows up, and what happens next is not at all what you might think. It wasn't just a simple story of conquest and erasure.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. It was a fusion, not a total wipeout. I mean, look at what Rome changed. Yeah, the language shifted to Latin. You got Roman law, new roads, the whole deal. But then look at what stayed. Celtic place names, they stuck around. Celtic gods, they just kind of merged with the Roman ones. People even kept living in their old Castro settlements, just, with a few Roman upgrades. The culture didn't vanish, it adapted, it blended. So you'd think the story pretty much ends there, right? You've got this new, blended, Roman-Iberian culture. But, get this, and this is incredible. Centuries later, long after Rome's power had faded, the Celtic story in Spain gets another, totally unexpected chapter. This part of the story is just fascinating. So after the Roman Empire falls apart, you have Celtic-speaking Britons fleeing the Anglo-Saxon invasions back in Britain. And where do they go? They sail south and settle in, you guessed it, northern Spain. It's the exact same thing that happened with the founding of Brittany in France. They were basically looking for a safe haven with people they felt a connection to.
And this timeline breaks it down for us. You see the Britons arriving in the 400s. By the 500s, they'd even set up their own bishopric called Britannia. But, and here's the big difference between this and Brittany in France, within a couple hundred years, poof, they were totally assimilated. Their Celtic language disappeared. So this second wave, it was like a shot in the arm for the culture, a reinforcement. But in the end, it just got absorbed into the local mix.
So after thousands of years of all this blending, conquest, migrations, what's actually left? What can we see and touch today? Let's fast forward to the present and hunt for the echoes of this ancient past in modern life. And this is where it all gets real, The most obvious example, of course, is the music. The gaita, the bagpipe, it's a huge symbol of identity in Galicia and Asturias. But it's not just music. The legacy is alive in the folklore, these beliefs in nature spirits and witches called megas. It's woven right into the fabric of the people's identity, their connection to that green Atlantic landscape, and yeah, even in the language, with tons of old Celtic place names still around.
Okay, so we've traced the ancient roots. But hold on, because there's one final, really important piece of the puzzle. And this one complicates things a little bit. It makes us ask a tough question. How much of this identity is genuinely ancient? And how much is, well, a more modern story?
Right, here it is. In the 1800s, you get a Celtic revival. Just like what was happening in Ireland and Scotland, thinkers and artists in Galicia started to actively, purposefully promote a Celtic identity. This was a conscious choice. It was a modern project, both cultural and political, designed to build up regional pride and really highlight how different they were from the rest of Castilian Spain.
And this slide just shows you the two sides of that coin perfectly. On the one hand, you have the ancient reality, this archaeologically proven but super blended Celtiberian culture. And on the other hand, you have the modern revival, a conscious, deliberate project to connect the region to this big, international Celtic world. And the thing is, both are true. You need both to understand the whole picture.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. If you want to understand the story of Celtic Spain, just think of it in 5 parts. 1. The arrival. That's the Iron Age tribes. 2. Adaptation. That's when they blend with Roman culture. 3. A surprise reinforcement from those migrating Britons. 4. Survival. How traditions like music and folklore hung on. And finally, 5. Reinvention. The modern, conscious revival of that identity. So, let's circle all the way back to the question we started with. Is northern Spain Celtic? And the answer is yes, but it's complicated. This quote just nails it. The Celtic culture in Spain is real, for sure. But it's also been transformed by time, it's deeply blended with a ton of other influences, and, this is key, it's been partly reconstructed for our modern world.
And that really leaves us with a much bigger question, one that kind of applies to every single one of us, doesn't it? How much of our own identity, whether it's personal, family, or national, is just inherited history, and how much of it is a story we choose to tell about ourselves, about who we are right now and who we want to be? And it's a pretty powerful thought that identity isn't just about the past, it's about the present too. Thanks for joining me.